Hello, welcome back to Buckle Up. My name is Rob Wilson and this is the Kia EV9, which has just won World Car of the Year. So today I'm going to find out if it's deserving of that award. Right, let's start off as we usually do at the front, when you can see that this car is large. For the UK, this would be called a mid-size SUV in America, but they're very odd and weird over there. So let's talk about the design, because I really like how this car looks. You've got these sharp blade lights that cut from the side straight down and across into the grille. Well, not really grille, because it doesn't need one. You've still got that element of the tiger nose squashed face look here, and you've got your active aero stuff going on down here for cooling the battery or being efficient through the air. To the side of that, you've got some aero down here for going through the bodywork and smoothing the airflow around the wheels. And yeah, generally this is quite a bluff front for a electric car, but they've done what they can to make it as efficient as possible, being an EV. So let's move on to the side and see what's going on there. Right, here at the side you can see the sheer size of this car. It's over 5 meters long. So these 21-inch wheels look tiny, but they're not. They're massive. And these have got aero covers on them as well, so it's helping again with that efficiency. They haven't gone for style, they've gone for efficiency. But I do quite like the pattern on them as well. You've got black mirror caps, you've got some cladding going along the bottom of the doors, and those doors, when you open them, open all the way to the bottom so that you don't get muddy trousers when you get in and out. You've got a black roof rail as well, a nice big chunky roof rail. And yeah, look, it's a long walk to the back here. And you do have your charging port as well, which opens electronically. And you've got your fast charging capabilities in there. So I'll shut that up and go and look at the back. Right, here at the back then, and I'll talk about the spoiler, because underneath it, they've hidden the rear wiper, which is very Land Rover. It means it's got a much cleaner design here at the back. You've got your big Kia badge, you've got your GT Line S badge, because that's the top spec that this one is, and your EV9 badge here. You've got the rear lights from a Volvo, but I don't mind that because I quite like them. But let's open up that boot. Electronic, obviously. And here we can see with the third row down, we've got over 800 litres of space. But if I fold up the rear seats, which I can do electronically at the push of a button here, eventually, it will have 333 litres of space, even with those seats in place. I can also lift up this floor, and then you can hide the parcel shelf fully under here, along with your tools, your locking wheel nut, etc. So what I'll do now is electronically fold all of the seats down, the push of a button, and then you've got 2,000, well, more than 2,000 litres of space, which is this much space. So look, I fit. And back here, you can see all of those additional features. So we've got some 12-volt sockets on this side. We've got tie-down hooks all over the place. And here, you've even got a household-style outlet, which is behind a cover. So really, loads and loads of space. But what I think I'll do now is put all of these seats back up and try them out, because I'm quite tall, so I want to see if I fit. Right, I'm now going to demonstrate getting into the third row, which is very easy because it's just one push of a button. So if you're carrying a child, you should be able to do this. So you press the button and the seat moves itself out of the way, and then I can slide in here quite gracefully and push this seat back into its furthest back position. But you can actually move these middle row forward to give yourself more space. And as we'll discover when we get into the middle row, there's plenty of room to do that. You're not going to compromise your middle passenger's leg room. But I fit back here, and I've actually got a decent amount of headroom. I would be man-spreading quite a lot, but I am 6'2" or 188 centimetres tall, so I was never really expecting to like sitting back here, but it is doable for shorter journeys. I've actually got quite a lot of toys back here, considering this is the third row of the vehicle. So I've got climate vents up here on the ceiling. I've got my lights and stuff up here. I've got USB-C charging if I want it. I can recline electronically these back seats. I've got 2 cup holders back here on both sides, so we're catered for drinks as well. And I've got a proper armrest. You've got the speakers back here. It's actually really nice, and both of these seats have Isofix, so that's really good as well. But if you don't mind, I will hop out of here and into the middle row, where I will have many, 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 many more spaces for my legs. Right, here in the back seats, and as I said, look at the amount of room I have here. I've got that much room for my knees. I've got loads of room for my head, even if I sit all the way up straight, including the fact that this has a sunroof in here as well, which does eat into headroom, but doesn't seem to bother me. In terms of features back here, I've got aeroplane style back pockets on these front seats, both of them, ideal for putting like an iPad or newspaper or something in. I've got decent-ish door pockets with a cutout in them for a bottle of water. They're not the biggest in the world. I've got some nice little practicality here in the form of a blind which I can put up here, which is built in, which means that if you have a baby child in here, they won't go blind. So put that back. Luxurious features aplenty. I've got 3-stage heated seats and cooled seats in this middle row. I've also got an armrest here in the middle with 2 cup holders in it, and I can move that armrest up and it'll lock in position, which is really, really nice to see. Again, we've got Isofix on these outer seats. If you are sat in this middle row, it's not a full-size seat, so it's a bit harder and you do sit a bit higher up and you're going to have less room. But because you've got the glass roof in here, it's not going to interfere too much with your headspace, and the floor is completely flat, so you're not going to be worried for leg room. You also have an enormous cubby in here, which has got some leather straps holding stuff in place. 2 cup holders in the back of the armrest from the center console up front, and you've got 2 USB-C charging ports on the back of the front seats. Now, the front seats on this side also has controls here for moving that seat forwards and backwards and out the way. Now, don't worry if you've got kids, because if you are sat there, it won't do that. It knows not to move if you've got someone sat in that seat, so your child can't sit and play and move your seat forwards and backwards while you're in it. So that's good. They've thought about that. Unlike the Land Rover Discovery, in which they had the radio controls in the back seats, so your kids could play with that while they were driving along. I've also got my climate controls again up here in the ceiling, same as the third row, except here I've got my own climate function, so I can change the temperature, fan speed and all that from the ceiling, which is quite cool. And then another feature that I've discovered is quite handy is this grab handle here, because it's quite a tall vehicle. So if you struggle to get in and out of, that's quite handy to hold on to. You've also got a handle up here with a coat hook and your own map light as well. So that's quite nice. But what I think I'll do now is move up front and see the main show. Right, okay, so let's talk about the front, because there's a lot going on up here. Let's start with my steering wheel in front of me. So on the left-hand side, I've got all of the cruise control and self-driving functions. Right-hand side, you've got your functions for dealing with your audio, your phone, all of that stuff. And you can control the central screen in front of you as well. Then further down, and usually you have drive mode and terrain mode. Now your drive mode, you can pick between Eco, Normal, Sport, My Drive, which most of the cars would call individual, and then terrain you can pick from snow, mud or sand. So this does have some off-road capability. You also get hill descent control, which comes on automatically when you put yourself in some of those terrain modes, but you've also got a shortcut button to it down here along with your parking sensors, your parking cameras and auto hold. To the right of the steering wheel, you've got a set of buttons for opening up your charge flap. You've got a button that you press twice to open up the frunk, which has got a small amount of space in it, not loads, enough for putting extra cables in. You've got a button to press and hold to open up the boot, and your traction control button as well. Now, climate controls are controlled mainly from these 4 buttons here in the center, so they are physical, and you can either push the button up to increase the temperature or down to lower it, and then you can pick the direction of the flow with the mode button here. So I do quite like that because it's nice to have shortcut buttons, and the fan speed and everything's on this side as well, and your passenger can control theirs from there. And then you've got some haptic buttons up here on top, which are, you can feel vibrate when you press them, and then it'll take you to things, and you can just type in your destination. For example, I've picked the lovely Scottish town, village on Orkney. Then to the right of that, there is a small screen that joins the 2 outer screens together, which has got climate control displays on them, so you can actually see the temperature you've selected. You can turn on your fan for your front screen, your heated rear screen, and control it through there if you want to, but to be fair, this does most of the functionality, and you've got a proper volume control there in the center as well. Further down, you've got many different charging ports, and you can switch between charging or having your data shown on the screen, although you do have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which works brilliantly. I've been using it this week. Another USB-C, and then if you push this one, it opens up to a 12-volt socket, so that's quite nice. Speaking of charging, you have under this small armrest a Qi charger here, which is good for making your phone really hot. And then in here, you've got a small cubby, but not as much as you would expect given this is electric. But you do have an absolutely enormous tray down here, and you've got a space for 2 cups to go, a small one and a large one, and you can cover that up completely, if I move those out of the way, with this if you don't want that on show, so that's quite handy. And that bottle will fit in the door pocket here as well. Now, luxurious features are aplenty in here, so I've got 2 memory save things I can have set up for 2 people. I've got 3-stage heated seats, 3-stage cooled seats, a 2-staged heated steering wheel, and massaging seats, which I can choose between a few different functions. So I can pick a pelvic massage, a lumbar massage, or a whole body massage where it does everything at the same time. And that's quite nice if you're on a longer journey and sometimes your bum goes to sleep. So you can wake yourself up with whatever that is. You've got on this top spec car Meridian sound, surround sound. You've got a bazillion speakers around the car. You've probably seen them in various other shots. I've got a heads-up display. I've talked about the big screens. Everything feels nice as well. It feels really luxurious and well built. And also just glove box as well, which is absolutely enormous. You've also got various different things you can do with these lovely seats, including all of the lumbar support you can possibly imagine. You can recline them, whatever, do all of that fancy stuff. But it's also got a little footrest thing you can bring up if you want to support your underlegs, but it will fully recline and you can go into a sleep mode, which is quite nice if you're charging the car. And you just want to have a quick nap in between your long drives. Also, special mention to these headrests because they are the most comfortable I've ever experienced in a car. And then up here you've got the other part of your sunroof, and that one opens. So it's all controlled on these functions here. But basically, that's everything. So what I want to do now is go and drive this behemoth and see how it handles on the road. Right, so out driving the EV9 on the road, and let's talk about some stats. So we've got a 99.8 kilowatt hour battery, of which 89 kilowatt hours is actually usable. So that means you've got a range of 313 miles on this top spec all-wheel drive version, which is quite good if it actually does that in the real world, which it probably won't if I'm driving it, because I'm currently averaging 2.6 miles per kilowatt hour. It will do much better than that, but I have quite a leaden foot. So let's talk about power, because we've got the best part of 380 horsepower and 700 newton meters of torque, which is, I think you'll agree, quite a lot. So that means 0 to 62 takes 5.3 seconds, and it'll go on to a top speed of 124 miles an hour, which is quite fast. What you can do is, if I'm currently in eco, so if I put it into sport mode, and then you can feel the seat become bucketed, it brings in the bolsters and lowers the seat base, so you do feel like you're in a bucket seat. And then if I put my head on the lovely headrest and hit the accelerator, it really does go for it. It's that instant electric torque that if you've ever driven an electric car, you'll know all about, but it is quite something to experience if you've never done it before, especially in a car that weighs the best part of 3 tons. But because of the weight and the dimensions, it does feel basically unstoppable. It's giving Land Rover Discovery 3, Discovery 4 vibes. You've got that big bonnet out in front of you. You can see the corners. The visibility is excellent. You've got nice big mirrors. You've got a good view out at the back. You've got the suite of cameras on your screen, so you can do that full 360-degree view if you want to. And I think the main thing that I'll take away from driving this car this week is just how relaxing it is to drive. It's very comfortable, it's exceptionally quiet. This cabin is just really, really friendly to use as well. It's not a giant screen with all of your controls in it. I like the fact that you've got the shortcut buttons. You've got the shortcut buttons on the steering wheel, which are always there in the same place, that are telling me where I can set my cruise control functions and my self-driving tech from. So that's really, really positive to see. The only thing I would whinge about, and it's what I whinge about on all new cars, is the amount of bongs and beeps that it emits for various different things. I've got bongs and beeps to tell me that the speed limit has changed, that I'm going 1 mile an hour over the speed limit and I should be in prison. I've got them to tell me this little thing here is watching my eyes, so if I'm talking to you, it has a bit of a fit and tells me I'm not looking where I'm going. You've got all of the lane keep assist and your blind spot monitoring and all of that, and that's great, and it's not as interfery as some cars can be, but personally I would just like a big button with off written on it where I could turn that stuff off and don't have to go into the screen to do it. But in terms of how it drives, how it handles, it's a big old boy, as we've discussed, but it really does handle better than it has any right to do so. I think that's helped enormously by the majority of the weight being down low in the car with that big battery pack. So when you do get on some twistier country roads, it handles it pretty well, actually. It doesn't have too much lean, although it's certainly no sports car, but it's not trying to be. It's not trying to be sporty, really. It's just, I think it's basically set up as comfortably as it possibly can be, and it's all the better for it, in my opinion. But you've still got that really quite addictive power. It's just, it's not surprising the amount of awards it's won, really. It's just really good at pretty much everything. And with that in mind, let's go back and do a conclusion. Right, so the Kia EV9 then. I've lived with this now for a week. It's done everything I've ever asked of it to do. I really, really like it. It's a lot for a Kia, but it's not a lot when you think about what value it's offering you. It's £20,000 cheaper than a base Range Rover. And then if you want a Range Rover with 7 seats, it's even more than that. So it's more practical. It still looks excellent. I've had people looking at it all week when I've been driving it around thinking, what on earth is this giant, good-looking, futuristic? This is what the Discovery should have been, basically. And it does give off Discovery vibes, which I like a lot. So, well done, Kia. You've done it. It's definitely deserving of World Car of the Year. So, thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a like, comment down below, but most importantly, please do subscribe and turn notifications on so you never miss an upload. If you want to support what we do, you can become a channel member and get some exclusive behind the scenes videos, or you can buy some merch and look very stylish, probably, maybe. So thank you again, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.